Welcome to the finals of the AVP Huntington League Qualifier. If you're just tuning in, these teams have battled through this single elimination bracket today, and this game is to earn their spot in the 2025 AVP League. On the far side of the court, we have Sean Cook and Brian Miller, our finalists from the last AVP League Qualifier, who played up against Hagen Smith and Logan Weber. And now switching onto the far side, we have Chaim Schalk and Chaim Schalk, the 1 seed in this tournament, and they are coming off of a bronze medal at the Elite in Quintana Roo. They upset the Swedish Olympic champions to get there. I am Corinne Quiggle, a fellow AVP pro, and I'm so happy to be with you here on the mic. We've seen these teams face off together in the semis 2 weeks ago in the last AVP League Qualifier, and it was definitely something to watch. Sean and Brian took that one in spectacular fashion, upsetting, again, the 1 seed, Chaim and James on the other side. Sean Cook back to serve. James with the early option, goes off the hand of Brian but doesn't land in. Came with the float to Brian. Nice reach of that block, but just getting off the hands. Again, Brian and James here, both really tall, talented blockers. Both going to be aiming for those high hands when they can. Again, we know these teams have seen each other before, so they kind of have had that time to plan. Maybe re-watch the game last time, see what they could do better, see what Sean and Brian did right, what they want to continue on. Great control, but great scramble by Sean and Brian here. Sean back at the service line. One of the loudest players. Very entertaining to watch. Anti-defense, defense club, but sure getting a dig to convert there for the switch. High energy team on that side, especially with their coach Stafford Slick in their box, or you'll see him mainly outside of the box, standing up on the side of the court. Really good control by Chaim and James. Again, both very physical teams here. We can expect a lot of battles at the net. Ooh, double called on Sean Cook. Going back to him. Tags the line. Yes, very nice tag there. Early ball. Again, both of these teams have been very consistent all throughout the tournament, going undefeated to make it to this final match. Kind of finding their groove here. We know that James Shaw is a weapon from the service line, so hopefully he can find his serve early in this game. There's a heater right at Brian. Brian on the high hands. And again, Sean taking that high swing. James is a very disciplined blocker up there. They're having to swing for his high fingers every single time. Those sets very in system by Sean and Brian. Good aggressive serve. Sneaking it through that block. Chaim Schalk. I'll say the semifinal before with Sean Cook and AV Drost Wyatt Harrison was definitely a lot louder than this match right now. A lot more energy into that. But sometimes it's hard coming off of those high energy matches into a match where arguably everything's on the line. The winner of this match gets their spot in the AVP League. Wow, what a block by Brian. Absolutely shutting down James at the net. Yes, now I can see the chat. Hagen. Nice touch. Oh, does it? Man, made it over the net, but just outside of the antenna there. Great rally for both teams. James Shaw back to serve. Controlled pass. Little off, but great spot by Brian Miller. Just finding the space, honestly taking James Shaw out of the equation there by keeping that ball so far off the net. And we head into our first technical timeout. 8-7. Again, this game seems to have a little low energy from some of these teams. We expect Sean to come out with a little bit more because we know that's the player he is. But again, this is a very important match. The winner of this is for sure in the AVP League, knows that they have all summer to play and represent their city. And the team that does not win has another chance in Huntington Beach Open, May 10th and 11th. If they win that one, then they are also in. If not, it all comes down to points. So making this final is very important for both of them. Sean and Brian in the final 2 weeks ago. Sean Cook back to serve and leading by 1. Good control by James. Running behind. Off the hands. Yes! Oh, but the net gets the better of Brian there. Really good scramble play. And a nice set dig by Sean Cook. Came with the hybrid to Brian Miller. Miller sneaking it by, tagging the line. Again, both teams just going back and forth here. Very consistent side outs. James turning it back over Brian. That's very impressive. Both very tall blockers, very disciplined, but an absolute rip by James Shaw. Top spin in the middle. Oh, and another ball on the net. One ball to switch here. James serving from the good side. Switching out the balls. We've had a multitude of weathers today. We've had rain, we've had wind. It's been freezing, it's been hot. And an ace for Chaim Schalk to take them with the side switch. Leading 11-9 and into the timeout. Good timeout call from Sean and Brian. They'll be moving on to the good side. Following by 2 points. Maybe talking about which way the wind's coming here. I think James has been doing a really good job getting out of that wind side, running a lot of balls behind, especially when he gets moved forward, kind of giving him a longer runway for his approach. Something that Sean and Brian can talk about when they switch onto this side. Chaim Schalk back to serve with the wind slightly at his back. Nice serve in the middle. Sean putting it into the angle, into that wind. Oh, and a good move by Brian, just hits off of his inside hand there. Difficult one to be disappointed on because that's a really nice lineup by Brian. Just slightly hand positioning error there. Following by 2, but on the good side, the better side. Good aggressive serve. I like Sean going for that serve. When they're down by 2 like that in a set to 15, it's so important. You need that service pressure. It's likely that the other team is able to side out anyway. Ooh, but another error. Set point for Chaim Schalk at the service line. And a great option there. Now we're hearing a little bit more from Sean Cook there. The last time they played each other 2 weeks ago, Sean and Brian won 15-13. Chaim and James took the second 15-12, and then Sean and Brian took 15-12. So really these teams can go back and forth. We know that energy could be coming. That's a nice block by Brian. Good opportunity there. 12 serving 14. Nice deep serve. Oh, what a great ball by James. Kind of getting Brian right in the head. Blockers that get their head above the net know that all too well. Looks like we might have a medical here. Little medical timeout because there's blood. Might have gotten him right in the face, or is it for Sean? I'm not sure. No, yet. got him right in the nose. It looks like similar thing happened to my partner in New Zealand. Megan Rice is wearing a Band-Aid over her little slit from getting hit in the face as she's blocking. We like to say, our coach, Betsy Flint, and I like to say it's a privilege to get your head above the net. It's a privilege to get hit in the face when you're blocking. So Brian Miller is living that privilege right now. With a quick little medical timeout. Again, Sean and Brian starting to go after their serves a little bit more at the end of that set, and I think that's a good spot for them to be, trying to find their momentum, find their rhythm. They want to be aggressive, especially in a game to 15, especially in the finals when everything's on the line. They've been in this position before. Hagen, also a Pan Am legend. Again, so anytime that there's blood on somebody or on the court, they have to clean it up. So it is an automatic medical timeout. And on the women's side, we just had two absolute battles in the semifinals. Savvy Simo and Abby Van Winkle upset Megan Kraft and Therese Cannon. And then on the other semifinal, we had Kelly Clays, used to be Clays, now Chang, with Molly Shaw losing to Julia and Lexi Denenberg. An absolute battle in the third. Really, really good volleyball there. Honestly, that game didn't finish. It was finishing as this game was starting. And it was actually quite distracting for everybody warming up. Coming down to the last few points. So the medical timeout can be up to 5 minutes, where a normal timeout is only 1. But again, they need to make sure they clean up all the blood and not allow any of it to get on the balls or other equipment or players. Following this game, again, Abby Van Winkle, Savvy Simo will face off against Lexi Denenberg and Julia Scholes. Starting to warm up on the side there. Somebody was mentioning that if you get second last time, Savvy and Abby actually got third in the last event. It was Devin Newberry and Jaden Whitmarsh who finished second in the last event for the women. But I believe that the Huntington Beach Open has to be one of the finishes. So even here, Sean Cook and Brian Miller have two, this would be their second final, but I believe one of the finishes to qualify for the league has to be Huntington Beach Open. So this is a 3-tournament series. There's these two Huntington AVP League qualifiers. The winner of each gets a spot in the league. The winner of the Huntington Beach Open also gets a spot, and then it comes down to points. So if somebody wins Huntington Beach Open that's already in the league, again, that spot will go to the highest points of these 3 tournaments, 2 out of 3. Again, waiting for Brian to get all fixed up by the medics over there. Chaim and James trying to stay warm. That's a long break in between sets here. Chaim and James definitely trying to keep their focus. And we are back 0-0. Chaim Schalk back to serve. Starting set 2 of the final, the men's final AVP League qualifier event. Nice ball, Sean Cook back to serve. Deep serve misses long, and now we have James Shaw back at the service line. The wind has died down a little bit, maybe not as big of an issue. Overpass here. Ooh. Cuddy battle, and he swings deep, but Brian gets it up, puts it over. Good opportunity here for James, and he takes it right in the face again of Brian Miller. Almost aiming for him there. Again, the winner of this game will earn their spot in the AVP League. The winner of Huntington Beach Open will also earn a spot, and then it will come down to point totals to see who is the third spot going to for the AVP League. What a block by James Shaw there. Quick early start for James and Chaim. But Sean with the option to take the switch. Again, Sean might be the smallest player on the court, but he makes up with it with a whole a whole lot of passion, and he is incredibly athletic. Just missing that short serve there. Nice high pass. Sean taking the option again with the pokey dig. And great control by Chaim Schalk there, just putting the ball right over the block of Brian Miller. Keeping the ball on Brian. And a nice seam swing by him right between the block and the defender. 3-5. Sean with the ball in 3. James with the jump set, but just maybe a little low for Chaim there. Might not have made it out to his right arm. Score is 4 serving 5. Sean Cook back to serve. Nice deep serve. It kind of came out of Chaim's hands. A little funky, and I know Brian's going to ask about that one, but they will take the switch. Chaim and James up 6-4. Again, it's different coming from the FIVB and playing on the AVP. On the FIVB Volleyball World Tour events, they're not calling doubles. On the AVP, they are. And Sean with a heavy swing, but James is right there. And that brings them up to 7-4. James with the topspin. Good hustle by Brian. And somehow gets it through both of them, but Chaim is there. What a swing in the middle. Sean with the hustle and into the crowd. Huge point for them. James Shaw at the service line again. Wow, and an ace on the line. Perfect placement on that off-speed serve. That's 9-4, and they'll take a timeout on that one. Again, James just has so many options on that topspin serve from the end line. You never know if it's going to be super aggressive or if he can take some off and have it fall short. Again, a big point stretch for them. They are down by 5 points here. Really important. This is the game to be in. You're either in or you're not. You have to go again, try again in Huntington, hope that the points end up in your favor. Nobody wants to be in that position. Both of these teams have their opportunity here and now to make the league. James Shaw with the aggressive serve. And a great funnel. Wow, and sneaking it by Sean Cook. Second time of asking for their side out. 1 to switch here, and 1 for our technical timeout. Again, Chaim and James definitely wanting to capitalize on this lead that they have. They do not want to let this game slip out of their fingers, and they take that technical timeout, 10-5. Chaim and James have been so consistent all day today, mainly playing on this court, so I've been able to watch them quite a bit, but they are serving really well, siding out very consistently, not letting the other teams go on a lot of runs. And in these games to 15, it's so important to capitalize on that, especially from the service line. Again, also impressive by Sean Cook and Brian Miller to be in the finals for a second time. Teams coming back on Sean Cook and Brian Miller, moving on to the slightly better side here with a favorable wind. Chaim Schalk back to serve, just 5 points away from solidifying their team in the AVP League. Great grab, great hands by Chaim Schalk. Nice option in the middle. But Chaim's there. Again, 4 points. 4 points away for them. Back on Brian. Sean Cook with the beautiful set, but James with the even better block. 12-5. Again, James is doing a phenomenal job up there with his hands, being super disciplined. Arms moving independently from each other, and it tags the back line. Wow, everything is falling their way. Chaim Schalk continues to serve, 13-5. Ball onto Sean now, keeping it in the wind. And a great high swing. Chaim sends it over. Wow, and the, I don't even know what to call that. The tomahawk kill to send them to 6-13. Nice hands by Brian. Again, but the shorty caddy falls for Chaim Schalk to bring them to set and match point, 14-6. Again, Chaim Schalk at the service line to take this match. On a beautiful serve down the line. But Brian gets it over the top of the hands of Chaim Schalk. Brian at the serve. Ooh. Nice shorty shot, and that will do it. Chaim Schalk and Chaim Schalk are your AVP League qualifier winners and have earned their spot in the 2025 AVP League as one of the top 8 teams of the country. Sean Cook and Brian Miller will have another chance to qualify in the Huntington Beach Open in 2 weeks. What a tournament by James and Chaim. Congratulations to our champ, and we will see them in the league. I'm Corinne Quiggle. Thank you guys for tuning in.